It's Monday, April 19. Welcome to your Barbados Today Evening News Update. Several government buildings reopened today after being extensively cleaned over the weekend under the National Cleanup Campaign. In fact, the point man in charge of clearing away volcanic ash from public spaces, Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, Dr. William Duguid, says he's pleased with the progress so far.
We focused on Warren's Tower 2, which was available to open today, the Baobab Towers, Warren's Office Complex, Government Headquarters, E. Humphrey Walcott, and the Frank Walcott Building. So all of these, I'm told, are open. The Supreme Court has been cleaned as well, and they're opening tomorrow. The Weymouth Corporate Center was opened from last week. The NHC building was giving us some challenges with the air condition, but we have got those finalized now and resolved. And we're just going through the final cleaning of the interior of the building, and then that will be open. We're now developing our second list of second-tier priority buildings, and we'll start working on those as a matter of urgency. And from there, we will then move to the community centers and the resource centers, and then in parallel, the National Housing Corporation estates.
He stressed that it's critical the cleanup continues apace to ensure there's no ash buildup to affect the country's drainage system.
The more ash that we can collect, the better it will protect our drainage system. Because if we leave this ash and then it gets into the drains, then we have a much bigger problem with flooding down the road. So we're trying to collect as much ash as possible. I know that they had some rains in some areas last night, this morning, and I'm a little concerned that too much ash will get into the drains, because if that gets in the drains, then we have flooding problems. So we're trying to collect as much as we can before the rains come and wash it into the drains. And that's my biggest concern right now.
Operations at the Bridgeton port got back on track today, but it was not all smooth sailing. Some clients anxious to collect personal effect packages from Shed 2 and a commercial cargo from Shed 4 had to wait longer than expected. Management explained the late start was to facilitate a fresh round of cleaning after ash infiltrated some areas overnight. The process, however, got underway around 9:30, and according to management, personal effects cargo, which did not require customs inspection, as well as pre-stacked commercial cargo, were delivered. Cargo designated for export containers was also received. Port officials said the cleanup of roadways and operational areas continues while they explore solutions to seal openings against ash intrusion. Most of the island's fish markets also resumed business today. Over at Oyston's, vendors were busy on the job. Wilma Hutchinson told Barbados Today they're happy to ply their trade, but she says there are lingering issues to be corrected, including a sand-filled tunnel near to the scaling room.
We feel good because we're off for the longest time. We help ourselves and we clean up to the best of our ability. You understand? So that we'll be able to start back to work. But the only problem we got here right now is this tunnel here. And the road needs to be wet down on a regular basis, because even if we clean the market, the road still got the stuff on it. The dry stuff when the traffic pass gonna blow all the stuff back inside the market again. But that's the only problem we got there that I could see for myself right now, the tunnel and the road.
Vendor Lexine is happy to be back at work, and she's hoping that business quickly picks up.
We're glad to come back out to work, but so far this day started off very slow. I guess it will be about like this for like the next couple of days or so, but hopefully it will pick up.
Government's vaccination drive is back on in earnest, and to date, 70,759 people have been vaccinated. The news comes amid the continued decline in COVID-19 infections. The latest data from the Ministry of Health shows the island recorded 3 new positive cases on Sunday. The 2 males and 1 female were identified from among the 288 tests carried out by the Best of Santos Public Health Laboratory. 16 people were discharged, while 86 persons remain in isolation. The overall number of confirmed COVID-19 cases has moved to 3,784, and 3,681 persons have recovered. The virus has claimed 44 lives.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news, in Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has made a few changes to his ministerial appointments on the heels of the death of Energy Minister Fawad Khan. More from TTT News.
Minister of National Security Stuart Young replaces the late Franklin Khan as Minister of Energy and Energy Industries. Announcing a reassignment of ministers this afternoon on Monday, the Office of the Prime Minister says Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley today advised President Paula May Weeks in accordance with Sections 3(9), 76(3) and 79(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to reassign Stuart Young as Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, in addition to his duties as Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, to reassign Fitzgerald Hines as Ministry of National Security, and taking up Mr. Hines' former assignment as Minister of Youth Development and National Service will be Foster Cummings, who was appointed Minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport last August. The Office of the Prime Minister says the reassignments are to take place with immediate effect. The portfolio of Energy Minister became vacant with the death of Franklin Khan.
On the international scene, after a day of closing arguments, jury deliberations began late Monday evening in former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin's trial in the death of George Floyd. We have a full report from CNN.
His name was George Perry Floyd, Jr.
The first words in closing arguments for the prosecution were not of the man on trial, but of the man they want jurors to remember.
This case is exactly what you thought when you saw it first, when you saw that video. It is exactly that. You can believe your eyes.
The prosecution arguing it was Derek Chauvin's knee to the neck that eventually killed Floyd. Chauvin is facing second-degree murder and manslaughter charges, along with third-degree murder, the most serious of which carries a penalty of up to 40 years in prison. And the prosecution took jurors back through witness testimony with diagrams and charts, reminding them of why they say Chauvin is guilty of it all, and why he had every opportunity to stop what happened that day.
He knew better. He didn't do better.
Making clear, this trial was not about the Minneapolis Police Department, but about one former Minneapolis police officer.
This is not an anti-police prosecution. It's a pro-police prosecution.
The defense began on the topic of what a reasonable officer would have done, considering the totality of the circumstances, including the violence of the initial struggles.
The 9 minutes and 29 seconds ignores the previous 16 minutes and 59 seconds. It completely disregards it. It says, in that moment, at that point, nothing else that happened before should be taken into consideration by a reasonable police officer.
Then, largely sticking to their themes, that George Floyd died from drug use and his medical history, that Chauvin did exactly what he was trained to do, and the perceived threat of a growing crowd distracted Chauvin.
In the precise moment the force was used, demonstrates that this was an authorized use of force, as unattractive as it may be.
Prosecutors pushing back in their opportunity for rebuttal.
When Mr. Floyd is saying, please, please, I can't breathe, 27 times in just a few minutes, you saw it when Mr. Chauvin did not let up and we didn't get up. When he knows he doesn't have a pulse, he doesn't let up or get up. Even when the ambulance comes, he doesn't let up or get up even then.
Each side hoping to leave a dozen jurors with a final impression before they deliberate on one of the most consequential cases in Minnesota history, as the world watches.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.